I'm Ron Kaltenbaugh. I'm president of EVADC, the drivers group that Elvia mentioned. We're a one part car club, one part advocacy organization. We do a lot of presentations like this. We do events. In the past, they were in person and will be again, hopefully soon, showing our cars, giving people rides. We do a lot of work around advocating for EV policies in Maryland and Virginia, and both at the local level and the state level. And we have some people in DC doing that as well at the city level. And I'm also, another hat I wear is the Climate Reality Project. I've been involved with that for over 3 years now, talking about climate, giving climate presentations. So the animation should be on the screen now. Just want to just frame the discussion here. So climate change is a big topic, and there's just so many things that are involved in that, but so many of them are involved with combusting stuff. And transportation is a big part of that. And so one of the things that we hear people talk about a lot is, well, okay, yeah, this is going to do this, but it's not going to solve the whole problem. Well, it's not going to solve the whole problem. We need to do lots and lots of things. And addressing transportation is one of the biggest. Worldwide, air pollution kills 9 million people every year. 9 million. That is just staggering that we let that happen. But it's not just it affects us in the U.S. as well. So we think of the U.S. as being a more advanced economy, and we have a better standard of living than most of the world, which is true. But still, 40% of the U.S. population live in regions that don't meet EPA air quality standards. It's a staggering amount. Now that's not just for transportation. This is showing an industrial facility, but it's also all kinds of things. And again, most of that has to do with combusting fossil fuels of some kind. The power sector is not going fast enough, but it actually is getting cleaner, and they have a pathway through renewables, wind and solar, energy efficiency, demand response to actually clean up their act. Transportation, though, is now the biggest sector from a CO2 standpoint, and it's basically not moving in the right direction. Well, here's where EVs come in. And the beauty of EVs is they get cleaner over time, which I'm going to show in the next two maps. But as Elvia was talking about a little bit, ICE cars or internal combustion engine cars, they get dirtier over time for a couple reasons. Wear and tear makes the engine less efficient. We're also going after dirtier sources of gasoline, tar sands, unconventional fossil fuels, which are actually dirtier than what we used to get. So it just gets worse. For the average driver who's driving about 1,000 miles a month, roughly a dozen solar panels on your house is going to power your car for the year. Now that varies based on your car and your driving and everything, but it's an approximate there. But the key is for a relatively small investment in solar, you can actually be driving on sunshine. So this map really helps tell a great story. And this map and the next one are I found from the Union of Concerned Scientists. And this shows the electrical grid by region. And so our electrical grid is its own fascinating kind of subject. And you can see here we have various areas around here. So it doesn't follow state borders at all. It's much more complicated than that. But you have different areas where the grids operate as an entity, and then there's various interconnections between them. But in those little areas, you see the different colors for what is the miles per gallon a gasoline car would need to get to be as clean as an EV charged from the grid. And you can see in 2014, the largest portion of the country and also where the largest part of the population is, we're all in the best category, which is over 51 miles per gallon. So we're basically Prius territory or better. California there is at 95. New York is well above 100. Even Texas at 58. Huge portions of the country in 2014, charging your EV from the grid is already cleaner than the best ICE car. And this dispels the myth that we hear a lot about, well, you're just moving the pollution from the tailpipe to a smokestack. That's just not true. Well, now we jump ahead, and this map is from 2018, 4 years later. And now we see almost the entire country is in the light blue best category. California's up to 122, Texas has jumped to 68. Just dramatic gains from a cleaner grid. Now, the great thing about this is that EV you bought in 2014 benefits from this. So think about that. Your gasoline car after 5-10 years, it's dirtier than it was, whereas your electric car, without doing anything to the car itself, just because the grid gets better, it gets cleaner. How often do things we buy get better with age, except maybe wine? So the great thing about electrification is it's not just cars. It's also buses. I live in Frederick County, Maryland, and I'm proud to say that my county was the first county in Maryland to implement electric transit buses. That was several years ago. And they're starting to take off all across the US. There's literally hundreds. We're probably actually approaching 1,000 range across the country. And many transportation systems are signing up to electrify their fleets. Los Angeles was one of the earliest ones to do this, and they've announced a pledge to have only electric buses by 2028. That's a pledge, so we don't know if it's going to come to pass, but we're hopeful. But however, the US is being left behind by other countries, specifically China. China, as of several years ago, already had over 100,000 electric buses. And they're doing this for two reasons. They have massive air pollution in their cities, and people are upset about. And that's one of the main things people protest about in China. And two, they understand there's a market here. They want to go away from just being the manufacturer of the world to being the innovators and making the bigger profits. And so they're investing in certain industries, and electrification is one of them. And you can see here that map I showed before showing how clean the grid is. This shows it for electric buses compared to diesel buses. And you can see that even the worst areas of the country are better than 2 times a diesel bus in terms of cleanliness. Some of them are more than 3 times better. And it's not just buses. Heavy vehicles like garbage trucks are going electric. You might think, well, gee, that's a huge vehicle. We're fighting to get long-range cars. How can we do a garbage truck? Well, the beauty of a garbage truck is it's going on defined routes. It's carrying a heavy load, which takes lots of torque. It's a great fit for electrification. And they're starting to appear in various fleets around the country and around the world. And 2 recent developments I want to highlight. One is last month, the American Lung Association released a report called The Road to Clean Air that talked about the benefits of a nationwide transition to electric vehicles. And we'll link to this whenever we send out some post-event materials. And a surprise, even to my colleagues who were helped arrange this, I was on lockdown. I couldn't talk about it because it was a secret. Sierra Club and a variety of groups centered around Northern Virginia have been working on a report around WMATA, the Washington Metro Authority, and they have basically missed the boat or behind the boat on electrification. They have plans to buy like 500 fossil fuel buses over the next 5 years or so. They really haven't jumped into electrification. They're missing an opportunity for long range savings, for better public health, and all kind of benefits. And so a coalition of groups just released it today. And there's a big story in the Washington Post about this, which we'll link to. And it really dives into a lot of the health and economic benefits of electrifying our bus fleet. And in closing, to reiterate some things I've mentioned, also some things that Elvia mentioned, electric vehicles are just better. It's a better driving experience. It's better for your finances over the life cycle. It's better for your health, and it's better for the climate.
We encourage you to consider an EV for your next vehicle. Go take some test drives of EVs soon, so you're ready for that next purchase. And for information on available EVs, go to evadc.org/evinfo for a list of all the latest models.